Hey folks, and welcome back. As we inch closer and closer to October 31st, one of my favorite days of the year, we dive into the meaningful traditions and rituals many of us have during this time. Today, we explore the origins of one of our most beloved holidays, Halloween. Now, I know Halloween is synonymous with costumes, trick-or-treating, and haunted houses, but how did this spooky celebration come to be? Why do we carve pumpkins and dress up as witches? Why do we love to flirt with the eerie and supernatural? Well, buckle up, because today we're going on a journey through time, from ancient Celtic traditions to modern-day festivities. Let's dive in. Let's rewind the clock about 2,000 years. Back to the ancient Celts, in what is now known as Ireland, the UK, and northern France. They celebrated a festival called Samhain, which is spelled Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain, to mark the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. Samhain was a time of tradition, when the lines between the living world and the spirit world were believed to be blurred. The Celts thought that on October 31st, spirits of the dead would return to Earth, and not all of those spirits were necessarily friendly. So, what did they do? Well, they lit massive bonfires, wore costumes, and made offerings to ward off any unfriendly ghosts or mischievous spirits. This, my friends, is where the origins of costumes come into play. People would disguise themselves to avoid being recognized by any wandering or unwanted souls. Now, fast forward a few centuries to the Romans. In typical Roman fashion, they conquered Celtic lands and, like empires often do, they blended their traditions with the local customs. The Roman festivals of Feralia, I hope I'm saying that right, was a day to honor the dead, and the other festival, known as Pomona, was a harvest festival dedicated to the goddess of fruit, trees, and harvest. They were merged with Samhain. This mix of harvest and death imagery starts to sound pretty familiar, right? Well, part of these celebrations included various fruits, which included apples. Yes, this is where some historians actually believe that our tradition of bobbing for apples actually may have come from. So we have Celts, the Romans, bonfires and costumes. What else can there really be? Well, there is also some Christian influence at play here, too, when it comes to modern-day Halloween. By the 8th century, the Catholic Church was looking to replace pagan festivals with Christian ones. Pope Gregory III moved All Saints' Day, which was originally in May, to November 1st. This day was meant to honor saints and martyrs, and the night before became known as All Hallows' Eve, which, over time, transformed into Halloween. Later on, November 2nd was designated as All Souls' Day, a day to pray for the dead. This Christian tradition of honoring the deceased got woven into the fabric of Halloween, adding to the layers of meaning and symbolism. In medieval Europe, this gave rise to practices like souling and guising. The less fortunate would visit the homes of wealthy families and receive little pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's deceased relatives. This practice was called souling. Over time, children adopted this custom too, going door to door, asking for food, money, or even ale in exchange for prayers. Guising emerged in Scotland and Ireland, which was a similar practice to souling. This was where young people would dress up in costumes and visit different households to collect treats. But instead of promising prayers for the dead, they'd perform little tricks, like singing a song, reciting a poem, or telling a few jokes. Their rewards usually came in the form of fruits, nuts, or small coins. Is this sounding even more familiar? Yep, this is the ancestor of modern-day trick-or-treating. By the time Irish and Scottish immigrants brought these traditions over to North America in the 19th century, Halloween was starting to take the shape we recognize today. The Great Hunger in Ireland drove many of these immigrants to the US, and along with them, they brought their cultural practices. One of these cultural practices included carving turnips into lanterns to ward off evil spirits. In North America, the turnip lantern tradition merged with pumpkins, which were more plentiful, and voila, you have the birth of the jack-o'-lantern. Now, I must say, these turnip carvings are pretty terrifying. I can 100% see how you would ward off just about anything with them. I'll be sure to include a couple of references in the show notes. It's kind of amazing how this holiday morphed through centuries of influence, from ancient Celts to the church to modern-day pumpkin carving and trick-or-treating. What started as a serious, sometimes somber occasion is now one of the most playful and creative holidays of the year. And here's a little fun fact for you. Halloween didn't become the huge celebration we know today until the mid-20th century. During the early 1900s, there was a push in North America to make Halloween more about community and family fun, rather than focusing on mischief or the macabre. This led to the rise of Halloween parties, festive games, and, of course, the flood of candy that we now associate with the holiday. So, from the ancient fires of Samhain to the glow of your jack-o'-lantern, Halloween is a blend of cultural and spiritual traditions, all tied together by our fascination with death and the unknown. Whether you're dressing up as a superhero or a witch, or just enjoying the candy haul, remember, you're part of a tradition that's been evolving for over 2,000 years, and that's pretty cool. Thanks for joining me on this spooky historical journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. You can also check out more of our content at philotumolife.com. And if you have a recommendation for a future podcast episode, you can email us at info@philotumolife.com. That's PHILOTIMOLIFE. Have a fun and safe Halloween, everyone, and see you all on November 1st, getting that sweet, sweet discounted candy. Until next time.